Morning. I was just kind of chuckling to myself about how just hilariously hard it is to do some of this work where you're doing shit on camera. And it's, well, and it's not just that. It's the process of putting myself out. Wow, it's beautiful right now. Putting myself out in such a way that I could actually ask for money. I don't know why that is such a block for me, but a really impressive one. And every time I get closer to it, I don't even know if I'm getting closer, but if I approach it, I get an incredible sense of fear. Just like I get flooded with doubts. It's just nonstop barrage of doubts. Every single reason in the book why I can't or won't or shouldn't, or just all of that shit. And wow, it's actually impressive. It's, I don't know, a testament to the power of the psyche. I just started walking. Like, I parked my car, wanted to do my walk and record a video, and then I realized that I was missing one of my earbuds, so I'm just backtracking to see if I find it dropped somewhere. Anyway, I had I was doing this new morning practice of mine, and it's been really fantastic. It's basically, I go into my garage in the morning, first thing, and I have a wrestling mat that's laid out on the floor, and I put on some music, and I kind of just do a bunch of weird, crazy movement in a way that is, calling into being. Saw some white bird poop on the ground. I thought it was my earbud at first. Maybe that's not bird poop, but it's not my earbud. I know that much. It's a way of calling into being ways of moving or being that I wouldn't allow myself in a normal, like, public context. So basically doing things that, that scare me, or that I would think are weird. Now, where? God, I don't see it. I'm hoping it would be in the car. Well, shit. Might just be missing an earbud now. Okay, so I go in my garage and I do this bunch of weird movement, right? And it's stuff that would embarrass me. And so I really love ecstatic dance. It's this thing where you go and you dance in a room with a bunch of people, but there's kind of like no rules. I mean, there are rules, but it's a context where you can explore movement without worrying about that it has to look good. Like, that's a big part of it, is that you can go in there and just move all sorts of weird ways, and nobody's gonna be making fun of you there, right? That's the idea anyway. And in so doing, when you do a lot of kind of new movement that you wouldn't normally let yourself do, that opens things up. That's kind of the key there. That there's a connection between your physical freedom and your psychological freedom. So my garage is kind of turning into my movement laboratory for that, where, even a public ecstatic dance, I find myself incredibly limited there. Now, somebody else watching me may or may not think that, but I know it based on what's going on in my head while I do it. And I know that there's quite a bit of, there's a lot of, holding myself back or pushing myself forward to try and impress people. There's a lot of ego involved in a public experience of any kind. And so I'm just finding that there's a lot of value in doing it in my own private space where I get to just explore things that I wouldn't normally let myself explore. And I think, naturally there's going to be questions, right? Like, what does that even look like? Well, it looks like a lot of, I do a lot with facial expression. So trying to make weird, funny faces. I forget what it's called now, but the like Pacific Islander dance, like Maori. Yeah, I think it's Maori, dance where they make a lot of weird, like, and it's part of this like intimidation practice that I believe that they would do like before battle, like show your enemy just how kind of wild and crazy you are, and that also you're not scared of them, that kind of thing. And so I was doing stuff like that where I'm just making as many shapes with my face as I can, and I'm also trying to embody like just like a fuck you attitude, like fuck the pressure to conform, like fuck that. And so seeing if I can show that in my movement, and if I can bring emotional power to it. It's a really fun game, actually, and it's kind of scary. It's uncomfortable, and I find that afterwards I feel really fantastic, and I actually get to enjoy some. At least my experience is that it increases my confidence, and it allows me to let go a little bit more in this context where I'm out in public, and I don't feel quite as restricted, because in private I got to practice letting go and being weird, being different, being obnoxious, being whatever it happens to be that I try not to let myself be in public. And I find there's carryover. I find that doing the practice, alone and in private, gives me a positive carryover into just normal everyday life. And also, God, it's been easy to do it. Now, maybe because it's new and it's novel, I've only been doing it for like this week, but it's like I get up and maybe go to the bathroom, and then I go do it, and it's way easier for me to do this than other morning routines that I've kind of experimented with or tried, where this is a very physical thing. When I do this kind of weird, just kind of get all the craziness out kind of movement. Excuse me. When I do that, it's a workout. Like I get sweaty, and so if I considered it a workout, this is one of the easier workouts I've ever done, in the sense that it's easy to get myself to do it. And partly because when I go in there, when I start, I'm not forcing myself to do anything. In fact, this is the practice of doing just whatever the fuck I want, and again saying fuck you, saying like I don't care, giving that, like, imagine like a kid that was turning against, rebelling against control, and the kid was just like making crazy faces and just kind of going nuts as a form of like defiance, yeah, because I think we got trained out of that passion that children have really quite naturally. We got trained out of it because we were effectively being told that it wasn't allowed to be that big, that crazy, that much. And this is part of my practice and discovering what it's like to get that back again. And one thing I really love about it, among many, is that I feel like it's mine. I'm not following some guide. I'm simply exploring on my own and putting emotional energy into the movement and trying to, almost like I'm trying to sell the movement. You know, if you were say acting in a fighting scene or some dramatic scene where you had to sell it, that you were actually really into it and it really mattered and you actually cared about it. And so I think about it like that, where I'm like, okay, I just did some movement where I kind of threw my arms, and I then think to myself, okay, now how can I sell that better? Can I actually put more of myself into that movement instead of wasting quite so many brain cells on thinking about it and on being self-conscious about it and thinking about something else, holding some fantasy in my head or some rumination. And instead, can I be single-minded in this experience and just kind of put it all into it, or not being minded at all, however you want to phrase it, but getting rid of the side jobs that are going on, the background processes, and can I sell the movement? And there's another one that I find really great. So many of these things come back to, at least seem to me, to come back to these childlike tantrum-esque movements. I mean, I have a lot of theories about why that is, but I don't actually know. I just, my experience with it is that I find when I get onto something good, when I find some movement where I'm like, oh, that feels like it's got the gold that I'm going after, those movements also happen to look kind of like a kid throwing a tantrum, and maybe the adult version of it, but still surprisingly like a kid throwing a tantrum. For example, this morning I was really appreciating how great it felt and how instructive it was to my body to stomp and pound the ground with my feet. And this goes right along with everything being opposite of what you were told, which isn't universally true, but sometimes it feels like it. You know, the idea in fitness where it's like all these low impact fitness options, and everyone trying to reduce impact on their body, that physical abrupt force going through your body. Well, I gotta say, I really love going for a high impact activity like stomping, and not even just stomping one foot at a time, although that is excellent, but also like a jumping and stomping with both feet. Imagine, again, a little kid throwing a tantrum and doing that like, I gotta do it. Let's see if I can put my camera down for a second and do some publicly embarrassing things. See, again, helps that I got to do it in private first. But just stuff like this, where I'm just like, it feels good right now even. And then, the 1 foot stomping. And I was doing it on a pad in my garage, so it's a little more padded than this ground. This feels a little jarring, if anything. But if I was over on the softer grass, that'd be better. But anyway, what I was finding was that in order to do it and to sort of maintain this stable core here and have a good stomp, well, it organized my body, because if I didn't do that, then the movement, it wasn't being sold well. It was sort of like I didn't care. And I find that if I have let's see, I love how hard it is for me to explain it, because it shows me how I don't understand it very well. If I were to maintain my awareness, my focus, like let's say in this case on the camera, if I were to maintain a clear head on the camera and give a lot of emotional power into my foot, then it's something like this, where it's like, boom. Even that kind of jarred my vision and shook me. And I actually think it'd be better if up here was totally clear while emotional power was going down into there. And that organizes the midsection here, where then you have strong power going down that doesn't just rattle your head. Anyway, this is the kind of fun stuff that I nerd out on when I'm thinking about this kind of stuff during my little morning session. I think it's a lot of it is just about embodied movement. Can I embody what would it be? It'd be like somebody who is integrated and powerful and connected, and they're not full of distractions in their head. They're not full of shame and so holding themselves back. They're able to actually channel energy into that movement, into their intention, whatever that is. Mindset, I guess, is kind of what I'm looking for here, where one of the mindsets that I experiment with embodying would be, that the defiant or oppositional, because I am certainly conflict avoidant. I'm scared of it, and it is difficult for me to a lot of things, to be solid and upright and be in opposition to something or someone, right? That is hard. And I get to practice being in opposition in these movements, in these sessions. There's so much to explore. And just to throw another one out, I also will explore with, this is in the vein of movements that I don't let myself do in public, movements that are sexual. Like, can I embody an integrated sexual man's energy? Can I show that and not make a joke out of it? Not just kind of laugh it off like I'm the butt of my own joke. And that's difficult. This is all coming down to shadow work, doing the things that we didn't used to let ourselves do. Be aggressive, be oppositional, be sexual, be really silly and childlike. All of these things that are, it might not sound hard if you haven't tried them, but then actually get yourself to do it and help maybe record a video of it so you can actually see, how on a scale of, 0 to 10 here, what am I actually allowing myself to hit? Am I hitting a 6, a 5? Compare yourself to, whoever you think really gets a 10 out of 10. I tend to look, because this is what I have access to, but really amazing actors in great movies that really look like they're hitting a 10 out of 10. Athletes would be another one, because they, by definition, they have to get to that peak output, which requires emotion. Like you don't win the Super Bowl or the World Cup without having that emotional channel that helps put power and intention into your movement. And especially when you watch someone, say, score a goal. Watch a soccer player score a goal, a really important goal, and you'll see the energy. You'll see the passion that they were harnessing to perform, and then they'll release it all at once at the end of the goal, and it's really amazing to see. Where was I going with that? Anyway, I am exploring accessing more of this capacity, a greater range of human capacity than I previously had access to. It's like, I was thinking it's similar to, in movement and fitness, you might think of range of motion, right? Like, oh, my shoulder's got this range of motion, right? Well, there's also range of emotion. Can you access these end ranges of emotion where you might feel unsafe when you get to them, just like range of motion. If you're moving in new ways and at the ends of your range of motion, you'll feel unstable. You might literally be putting yourself at a little bit of risk of, pulling a muscle or something. Like there are areas that you are not strong in, and I think it's almost exactly the same for emotional expression, and how if you don't have good emotional range and control of that range, well, then you're going to end up crashing and burning. To me, that would mean like you get so much emotion that it overpowers the movement, and then you quote unquote break down and have a moment kind of thing. But if you can keep the energy, if you can surf the wave, without it crashing on you, but if you can just surf the wave, well, then you've got all this power to your movement. You've got extra resources to utilize. And I think that would, for me, that would describe one aspect of really effective public speaking. Or if you really wanted to move people and inspire them, that being able to surf that emotional wave where you're getting just enough but not too much of the emotional oomph behind what you're doing, then you can then you're surfing, baby, and it's awesome, and you get to show what you've got instead of trying to just intellectualize it. I'm really doing a brain dump this morning. This is great. I really love the exploratory factor of this, and also getting down to understanding and appreciating what has been going on under the hood for so long in regards to holding yourself back, repression, whatever you want to call it. Because I don't ever regret getting more capacity. That's not something that I've ever been like, I wish I didn't have access to this shit. No, it's always better. It always helps. It's about having, it's almost like practicing losing control gives you more control. I think that's actually a pretty good way of putting it, because the more familiar you get with all of these states, then the less likely that you are to get blindsided or surprised when you are getting close to them. You get familiar with it. You remain calm in it. You get to not lose yourself, that kind of thing. What do I call this kind of work? I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I'm not gonna try and wing it live on camera, but it's doing some sort of social, emotional, physical exploration that results in better capacity, better emotional and physical integration. It integrates my physical body. It's like I feel like my body is just more together and more organized as a result of this kind of stuff. Because I think my body was actually, before, my body was reflecting the disintegrated and uninspired and kind of shameful way that I was that I was inhabiting in my head. It's like, well, duh, my body is a reflection of what's going on, you know? Like, it's a reflection of my environment, a reflection of my internal environment. It's just showing me, like, oh yeah, you're disorganized, you're not committed, you're not allowing yourself to express fully. Again, now we're getting, I don't know if this is opening a new can of worms or simply just showing me that I'm finally getting to a better can of worms. Let's not open it, but it's I'm losing it. Crossing a street is funny because then I get all self-conscious about recording videos, and it makes me, lose my train of thought. I like running my own little laboratory on myself, my psychology, my physical capacity, and getting reacquainted with I was about to say the full spectrum of human capacity, but I'm clearly not getting reacquainted with that as in like that's an infinite process, right? I'm never gonna be like, I did it, I got reacquainted with everything. But I get to gradually and bit by bit find out what I lost, what over the course of my development did I decide I had to leave behind. And now I get to go back and look at it and be like, oh shit, I actually like being able to access these things. I like having access to something like anger or sadness. Those are things that I value now, and I'm getting them partly by doing these exploratory sessions where I just say, hey, I wonder what would happen if I did this for a while, and do these things that I wasn't previously letting myself do. Okay. Big ramble. That's it. I'm gonna have some coffee or something. I'll be back again whenever I'm back. God, I need a schedule. All right, I'm out of here. Bye.